Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back. It's Tom Christie back in the carving shop, and this will be session 3 of carving a hen wood duck in a tucked head position. If you missed the 2 previous sessions, we got the head roughed out and then detailed the bill, installed the eyes. In this session, I want to do a little bit of refinement on the head, so we'll bring the camera in for that. And then we'll get to carving the body and get that rough shape today. I don't know if we'll get the body completed today, but we'll see how far we get. I like to keep these videos to about 20 to 30 minutes long so that I don't put people to sleep, and we can kind of break it up in logical segments that way. I think that helps from an instructional standpoint. Okay, if you're getting value out of my channel, please hit the subscribe button. That does help me out. It's totally free. It doesn't commit you to anything other than a show of support for the channel, which I really appreciate. All right, let's get going. We used the epoxy sculpt in the last session to install these eyes, and now I've got an X-Acto blade, and the epoxy sculpt is cured, but I can do a little bit of refinement on the shape of the eye and just finish that up. The other thing I can do is use this as a side scraper so that I don't approach the glass eye with sandpaper. It'll scratch that eye in just a second. So I've started doing this on most of my decoys, that this side scraping does a nice job of smoothing out the epoxy sculpt and just kind of shaving off small pieces of it and blending that into the surrounding wood. And then I can do a little bit of sanding out here, but I want to keep my sandpaper away from the eye. So I'll finish that up, get the head finished, but I did want to cover that technique, both the shaping of the eye, and it's amazing to me how a subtle change in the shape can really make a difference. And we're trying to portray life in these eyes, so I think they're a key to the whole decoy and how it projects, getting the eyes right and lifelike. So I'll get the epoxy sculpt off of there, get these side scraped and sanded, and we'll move on to the body. Okay, before I start shaping up the body, I need to make a decision on head position. And I've cut this out so the profile fits perfectly in a forward-facing center line position. So I could choose to mount the head in that position. And if I do that, I've kind of penciled around it and I can just work to that. And I have a nice tight fit there between the head and the body. I want to put a little left turn on this, and when you start turning the head, you start opening up gaps on this side, and also as I turn that head, I have a misfit here. So I want to establish the center line of my head turn, and it's going to be subtle, but I want a little bit of a turn, so maybe get a center line here. And I'm going to need to remove some wood here so that I can inlay the head and nestle it back down on the body, so I don't have a bunch of gaps that I don't want to fill with Bondo or filler. I want to have a nice tight fit. So we'll establish the new center line here. And then I'll work with the profile of the head on that center line and do some reshaping of the body so that the head fits down nice and tight and snug in that angled position, if that makes sense. It won't take much. There's not too much that we'll have to do there to get a nice fit. Okay, I've established a new center line for the angled head, and I just wanted to show some of this is pretty basic, but if you haven't done it before, as I turn this head, this is making contact with the body, with the cape back here, and it's lifting the front up off the breast. So I'm going to need to dig in a little bit here to relieve that area so that the head can tuck back down on that center line and not have a big gap here. Let's look at the other side. Same thing, tight here. As I turn, it's lifting this off back here. So again, I need to dig in on this side to keep that head level and on a good center line and tuck this back down in the turned, angled position. And again, I can use my head profile as I'm carving to get that, maintain that profile so I have a nice tight fit. Okay, enough on that, but it's kind of a subtle thing, but I think it's something that is important so that we don't end up with a head cocked to one side or looking awkward. Okay, I'm going to start with the 1/4-inch cylindrical burr and kind of use the side and the end of that burr to take some material out on this side like we talked about. First, I'm just kind of digging a line there to take material down, and then I'm using the side of the burr to then smooth things back out at that lower elevation. You can see I'm going at this pretty slowly, and I'll keep using the head to see what kind of a fit I've got and where I still have interference. So I've made progress, but I need to go a little bit further down in. I'm going to repencil the position of the head here, but I need to take a little material out over here as well. So same thing, I'm just using the corner of the burr to dig a little trench, and then here I'm using the end of the burr like an end mill just to take material out with the end of that burr. And again, you can see I'm not going very deep because this is a pretty subtle turn, so I'm not going to need to bury the head too far. So I'll speed the video up as I continue to work this so that we can get through it a little quicker. So I'm getting a lot closer now and just hitting the any high spots where it feels like the head is still rocking. I want a nice firm contact. Checking my profile on the center line, that looks pretty decent. Okay, we're getting pretty close. That fit looks pretty good. I may make a few refinements, but it looks pretty good. Now we need to look at is the head level from the front? Because that's another fit issue. It's easy to get the head cocked to one side or the other and make it look unnatural. All right, I've got the head nestled back down, and I just want to do a quick check from the front, and it looks like it's pretty close to vertical. Now we can carve the body. I just need a little layout work to prep for the rough rounding. I've penciled in where the primaries are going to be so that I keep that in mind as I'm taking off wood and rounding the body. The other dimension I want to get is where the tail meets the side here. So I've got an elevation there. I'll mark that on my carving so I can keep that in mind as we're forming this tail. Nice big tail in kind of a cupped shape. So we want to keep that in mind. All right, that's about all I need to begin the rough rounding then. Keep those in mind. All right, I'm going to use this kind of round nosed 3/4 inch cylindrical saber tooth burr, and that's a fine tooth. And I'm going to keep my head profile in mind, and I've penciled that in so I don't take off too much material. But I'll go ahead and round everything generally. So I'm rounding the breast area as it goes back into the side pocket there. I'll speed through some of this. I'm hesitant to speed up video anytime I'm using a big burr like this because I want you to get a good look at the speed of carving and not rush this because that burr is very powerful. So keep your hands away from it. All right, I will speed this up as I'm just rounding the body area here. So this is at 2 times speed. And I'm just trying to get material out of the way here and give us a nice rounded profile from the top of the back down to roughly the center of the side pocket. Same thing down below and rounding that up to the center of the side pocket. Just making a nice blended curve here in the breast area. You can see there's a little scoop there between the breast and where the cape feathers come down. Now I'm going to slow the video up because we want to work on this section back here, and I just want to remove wood on either side of the primaries. And I'm going very slowly here and not trying to dig too deep because when you get into ingrain with burrs, they can tend to snag and jump. If you go slow, you'll be a lot more successful. And I don't like the snagging and jumping, especially when you're going against the grain like I am right here. You need to go very slowly. Take your time. You can see I dug into that ingrain a little bit and it jumps. because the rotation of the burr is driving right into that end grain, and so you just need to be careful. Take your time. Okay, so right now I'm not trying to do a precision job of grinding around the primaries here. I'm just trying to get wood out of the way, and then I'll come back with a little more precision and shape those primary feather groups up. Now that I've got that cut down to the tail, I'm just removing and rounding. Now I want to take wood off the top of the tail here. I'm just going to carefully follow my pencil line on the side profile and cut wood away here. And again, we'll come back with more refined, smaller tools to refine the shape of the tail. Right now, I'm just trying to remove wood. Again, there's some end grain here, so being very careful. And I'm taking that down. I'm following that side profile line I penciled in on the tail feathers to cut those in as they meet the coverts back here. I'll do the same thing on this side and then come back. Okay, now I'm switching to this cylindrical 3/4 inch bit, and I'm going to very carefully cut in this section between the primaries. There's a little V section here, and I know I'm repeating myself, but this is all end grain, and you need to be careful with these burrs. I'm just taking a little wood out at a time. I just mentioned that end grain, and I just snagged a little there, so I need to slow down. Just take a little wood at a time. It still goes relatively quickly. I'm just cutting material out in that V area between the primary groups. And this big 3/4 inch burr does a nice job of getting material out of the way. And then as I mentioned before, I'll come back with smaller grinding bits and refine this. I also have to lower the primary group that's underneath the other one. And I've done that a little bit there, you can see, but I'm going to need to refine that more. So I'm going to take this primary feather group down to a lower level because they tuck under the overlying primary feather group. And I need to take this low enough that I can get some angle on this top primary group right here, because those feathers are angled down. And when I'm done here, I need to visualize a line that goes right into the side pocket and would tuck in like a wing would tuck into the side pocket. Just kind of defining this side a little bit more and cleaning things up on the side of the supporting area here under the primaries. So that's starting to take shape. I'll have to do more work, but we've got things kind of roughed in there. I'm just blending those into the feather coverts that go over the top of the tail. Now I'm going to use this cylinder, the edge of the cylinder. Again, I'm going against the grain here, so you're sick of hearing me say that, but I'm going to keep repeating it because it bears repeating. Go slow against the grain with a powerful burr. Now I'm using the edge of that to define the lower edge of the tail feathers. And on a wood duck, this group of tail feathers kind of forms a little bit of a cupped shape in back. So before I'm done here, I'll make sure the underside of the tail has a little cup shape to it. Right now I'm just defining a lower edge and where the rump comes up under the tail, and then rounding the rump and cleaning that edge up underneath. Taking off the bandsaw marks here. So I'll do this side of the tail in the same fashion and come back. Now I'm going to switch to the 1/4 inch burr, and I had mentioned that before. I'll use this burr to shape things up, clean things up, and refine the shapes of these primary groups, including the V notch area between them. And I can just get into tighter spots with this smaller cylindrical burr. I'll keep working to refine these outer edges of the primary groups because those angles are so important as they tuck into the side pocket. A lot of people get that wrong, including myself. I've run into that periodically in competition, so you need to be careful that these primary groups angle down into the side pocket naturally. Okay, now I'm going to switch to this 1/8 inch cylindrical ruby, and this lets me get down in and really get these angles right and refine the shapes that we talked about of the primaries and clean up this notch area. Sorry, I'm crawling off out of the screen here. Here, that's better. You can see I'm just using this smaller tool to get down in here and clean everything up, where the bigger, the burrs leave quite a few scratches, and the ruby really does a nice job of kind of pre-sanding everything, along with shaping things up. And I can get down in here and refine these areas. I'll speed this video up since we're using a ruby bit here. Okay, we're at 2 times speed, and you can see I'm just cleaning up the back of those supporting areas under the primary groups, taking out burr marks, and just making things more accurate and precise. All right. Now I'm going to use my 1/2 inch sanding drum and just sand the entire rough carving at this point. And I'll do some shaping with this along with just removing scratches and tool marks. So I'll continue rounding. This is 150 grit sandpaper on this drum, and I use that a lot for this type of work. So I'll get the whole body cleaned up, and then we'll come back. Just a quick look at the bird after the rough rounding, so you can get a feel for the level of rounding. And now we'll do some layout work to begin to define side pockets and some of the wing feathers. I've used my patterns to lay out the side pockets here. So dimensionally they're correct, and then from top down. So side profile, top down profile, and we need to remove material in this area and create a nice rounded side pocket there. Then I've sketched in where the primary group is going to enter the side pocket back here, and just sketched in the width of one of these big tertials and its location in relation to the end of the wingtips here. There's not much cape showing. The cape comes right back to here where the head is tucked back. So we won't need to carve that in. I'll probably put a little bit of an indentation in the middle here. All right, and we'll cut these in as well. Okay, I'm going to use my 3/4 inch cylindrical saber-tooth burr. And this will take several passes, but I'm kind of following my top-down profile here and removing material down to the side profile that I've drawn. So several passes to get that done. All right, I've got that profile and the top-down profile met. Now I can round from this point up and around the scapulars here on the back. And round that right up to this point where the wing tucks in to the feathers in the front here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this primary group in. Cut a groove down here that kind of lines up with the tip of the primary group. And then I can remove some material back here so that that primary group is raised up a little bit. Now I can round things off a bit. Work on the side pocket. And we don't want a hard shelf up here. I want to round this until it's a nice soft curvature, kind of from the center line of the side pocket up to where it meets the scapulars. Defining the rear edge of the side pocket there. And this is all just rough work, getting things nice and round and shaped up in the formation of these side pockets. I'm keeping this at normal speed right now just so you can see the whole process. So this takes several passes to get it cleaned up to where I'm happy with the shapes of the feathers of the back and these side pockets. And I've got that pretty well rounded. And now I want to work this area down here and relieve a little material on the lower edge of the side pocket as it rests against the rump here, and put a little definition around that group. I don't like to undercut that too much, but just enough to cast a little shadow. And then just continuing to clean things up as I go. Going back to that edge of the primary feather group. And then I've taken that area down so that it matches up with the tip of the underlying primary feathers on the opposite side. You just got to make sure those levels make sense. I'll do this side and then come back. Here's just a quick look at the roughed out body, just with the beginning of defining some feather groups, getting the side pockets shaped up, and getting everything nice and round. All right, I think that's a good place to stop for today. We've got the body rough shaped and the head ready to go. In the next session, we'll get a little bit of additional detail added to the body. In the meantime, I'll get this rough shaped bird sanded so you don't have to watch me sand, and we'll get those defined. We'll get the head mounted next time. I want to do a little bit of carving on the crest just to loosen things up back here. It's not going to be a fully decorative bird, but some carving of feather groups so that it adds to the paint that I'll put on top of it. It's been a good day. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Tom Christie signing out. Good carving to you.